Hello there, my name is Gary Sims from Android Authority. Now you've probably heard of this term Internet of Things, things that are connected to the internet, everything from a mobile phone to your PC to light bulbs, fridges, security cameras, things that are connected to the internet. And you've also probably heard recently in the news that there is some security concerns about the whole idea of the Internet of Things. Well, what are those security problems and what are the challenges that are being faced today by IoT manufacturers? Well, let me explain. So first of all, let's just do a quick overview. What is IoT, the Internet of Things? It basically means anything that's connected to the internet. Now, previously we've used the internet through connected things, PCs, laptops, smartphones, tablets. But now we're into a new era where there are devices connected to the internet that are not being used or interacted with by people all the time. So when I use my mobile phone to connect to the internet, to browse the web or to use an app that needs the internet, I'm kind of controlling what's going on. But there are a whole bunch of new devices that kind of sit independently on the internet, and we want them on the internet because we want to be able to talk to them at some point during a day or during a month. For example, if I have a security camera that's recording things that are going on in my home, I go away on holiday, then maybe I want to just kind of log in and see what's happening around my house to make sure everything is okay. So I'm not controlling it directly, but I'm kind of querying it or kind of looking at it once in a while. Now, there are reports that are suggesting that we already have over 6 billion Internet of Things devices on the internet already, and that number is just going to grow. It could grow as much as up to 20 billion within the next few years. Now, the problem is that when you use your PC or your laptop or your smartphone, it's got a whole bunch of security features built into it. Firewalls, for example, maybe antivirus, maybe there are some security things inside of the actual computer itself, like address space randomization that you don't even see, but I know that it's there, and the people that build these things know that it's there. But these things seem to be missing from the Internet of Things. So why is that, and what's the problem, and how do we fix it? It is. Now, why was that so simple? As I said, on your PC you've got a firewall, you've probably got antivirus, there are a whole bunch of security features built into your PC. But what we're discovering is that all of these IoT devices, security cameras, network storage, light bulbs, whatever they are, have no security whatsoever. In fact, they even maybe have a default access, like you can log in using admin or admin password or something like that. And what's happening is these devices are coming out of the factory, consumers are buying them, and actually they're exposed to the internet. And because they've got internet connectivity, they've actually got a small computer inside of them, maybe an ARM microcontroller, or maybe even a Cortex-A processor, a Cortex-A5 or a Cortex-A7, and they might be running something like Linux or one of the simpler microcontroller operating systems. Now, that means they've got full internet connectivity, they've probably got Bluetooth, they've got image processing, they've got lots of computing power, and the hackers are able to take those over and use them to launch these DDoS attacks. Now, what that really means is that IoT developers really need to up their game when it comes to writing the software for these devices. I mean, I remember not even only a few years ago, I would get pieces of equipment from maybe my telco provider that the default password was admin. Now, the latest one that I got, actually the password was, I think it's like 16 characters long, maybe even more. It's quite long, and it's labeled on the back of the modem, and that's different for every single device. So you can't just log into all of these modems using the same username and password. It has a unique one, and it's a strong one. And that's what all devices need to be able to do. But at the moment, a quick checklist of things that need to happen from a developer's point of view, and consumers need to be aware of it, so that we bring up these IoT devices up to a certain level of reasonable security. Now, the first one, of course, is authentication. You can't just log in with admin or admin no password, and that is exposed on the internet. So anybody can just start finding an address of a machine and just connect to it and do whatever they want to it. That's just not allowed. So it's got to have decent authentication. The password needs to be unique for every device that rolls off the factory, and that password needs to be kind of on a label or something so that the owner can log into it but other people can't. The other thing that IoT developers need to be really careful about is leaving any kind of debug interfaces. There's so many examples of people who thought they would leave some kind of hidden back door because that helps them to kind of perform diagnostics, it helps them to kind of monitor what's going on with their devices, but actually even if they think they're hidden, security through obscurity, that doesn't work. In the end it's discovered, in the end the password is found out, and then all of those devices, if there could be millions of them across the world, are then suddenly laying bare for hackers to get into. Of course, every IoT device should use encryption. If it is doing things, if you are talking to it, if it is uploading things to the cloud, if it is sharing data, that should all be encrypted so that only the people that are meant to see those pieces of information can see them. And never transmit passwords in the clear, never transmit personal data in the clear. If you don't send any data in the clear, always send it with encryption. And the same for privacy. You don't want these IoT devices to reveal things about where they are and who the owner is and how long they've been running and what, you know, all this kind of stuff. That needs to be hidden so that only the right people can see that. And if there is a web interface built into the device, it needs to basically be a robust web interface. It shouldn't be open to things like SQL injection vulnerabilities, or it shouldn't be open to cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. It should really be a secure web interface. And lastly but not least, every IoT device, and I mean every IoT device, from a microwave oven to a light bulb to a really sophisticated home security system, or even to things that are monitoring factories and cities, every IoT device should be able to be upgraded so that when, and I say when security issues are found, because they're always going to be found, but when security issues are found, the devices can be upgraded and those security vulnerabilities can be closed. But there's a key thing about this. When an upgrade is performed, the device needs to check that it's actually performing a legitimate upgrade, a legitimate update to its firmware, and that's done using signing. The software should be signed using certificates, and the device should check that the certificate has the right signature on it, and only then should it actually say it's going to upload and install the new firmware. Now, why are we in this situation? Well, basically the problem is cost. A lot of these devices are being aimed at the consumer market, and basically the companies that are making them are saying we want to make this quick, we want to make it cheap, we want to get it out the door, and security is like issue number 522 on their list. It's not important to them at all. Now, maybe it isn't the developers themselves that are at fault, although ultimately, of course, they're the ones that wrote the code, but probably this pressure is coming from higher up in the company, from management, from product management, from the bosses who are saying we want this now, we want it cheap, and we don't care about security. But a word to those type of people: just notice that in the end, security, a lack of security, will actually be your downfall. Because if it comes out that your device is responsible for certain activities, and your device was insecure, and in fact you had a very blasé security attitude, then actually that could be the downfall of your whole company and you lose everything. Let me give you a simple example. There was an example where Charlie Miller and a colleague of his actually managed to find some security vulnerabilities in a Jeep. And they told Jeep about these problems, and Jeep basically didn't do anything about it. And then after a certain amount of time, Charlie Miller and his colleague went ahead and actually published these findings, and then Jeep were forced to recall all of their Jeeps and make certain modifications to them, and that cost them billions of dollars. Now you might be not a big company like Jeep, but if you're trying to sell products and then you find that people no longer buy your products because they've got a bad name, then you're going to go out of business and you're going to lose your money, you're going to lose your livelihood. So it's important to make sure, if you are a manager, if you are a boss of a company making electronic equipment, make sure security is key. It's top of your list, because that could be your downfall, and consumers have the power to do that. So there we have it. Basically, IoT, the problem at the moment is people are producing cheap, quick devices, they're putting them on the internet and they don't have any concern about security. But you wouldn't buy a PC that does that. You expect your PC to have a firewall, you expect it to have some kind of Windows Defender, some kind of antivirus, you expect it to have updates. Microsoft issue updates every month, Apple issue updates, the Linux distributions issue updates. It's always being upgraded to fix and repair security issues. Now we need to have that same mindset when it comes to buying connected devices that are permanently on the internet and actually are part of our lives, security cameras and things like that. We need them to work properly and we need them to be safe. You don't want people spying on your house while you're away because they hacked into your camera. You don't want that. Baby monitors, that was a terrible example. People hacking into baby monitors and they could see what your baby was doing. You don't want this kind of thing. You want to make sure you buy secure devices.